Constraining the Court, Judicial Power and Policy Implementation in the Charter Era. Written by James B. Kelly and published by UBC Press.
The motivation behind this book is it begins in a toy store. My children were really young. They were watching Toy Story. And so I went to a toy store in Montreal to buy them Buzz Lightyear. But all of the Woodies and Buzz Lightyears were packaged exclusively in French and said all of their catchphrases in French. And so I started to think about the policy impact of judicial decisions. This is how academics actually decide on how you frame a book. Because there have been very important decisions by the Supreme Court involving freedom of expression. And in that decision, the Supreme Court said that compelled expression is a violation of freedom of expression and cannot be justified under Section 1 of the Charter. Literally, the book began thinking about the inability to purchase a Buzz Lightyear that would say to infinity and beyond. But what I wanted to do in the book is to see whether or not activist judicial decisions in fact produce policy outcomes. And since 1982, the Supreme Court of Canada has invalidated approximately 105 statutes. So the first thing that I had to decide was which cases and why. And so the way that I operationalized the choice of the case studies was to look at the significance of the issue of public policy, what I call issue salience in the book. Now, I have a total of 5 case studies in the book. Again, medical assistance in dying, supervised consumption sites. I look at the opioid crisis, freedom of expression, the sign law within Quebec. Again, fundamental questions. But more importantly, I wanted to choose case studies in which the government of the day fundamentally disagreed with the court's decision. Because in the book, I argue that for constraining the court to be possible, what must be present is a legislative disagreement, that the government with statutory authority fundamentally disagrees with the court and seeks to challenge that interpretation. And in the book, I talk about the Supreme Court of Canada as an implementer-dependent institution. What I mean by that is at times in Canadian federalism, it requires both actions by the federal government and the provincial government, as well as private citizens, to implement a judicial decision. So if there's a takeaway from the book, it's how important federalism is in Canada, that it has always been an enduring value, that we sometimes in the judicial power debate overlook the centrality of federalism and how significant federalism is to determine whether in fact there can be any policy impact of a judicial decision.
Constraining the Court, Judicial Power and Policy Implementation in the Charter Era. Written by James B. Kelly and published by UBC Press.
I'd like to thank my wife, Michelle, who I love very much, our children, Fiona and Liam, my Kelly, Friel, Gillison, Schultz blended family, UBC Press, and in particular, the editor of the Law and Society series, Randy Schmidt. I'd like to thank my dissertation advisors, Rick Schultz and Chris Manfredi, for their guidance. I'd like to thank the Donner Foundation for their support of books. And I would like to thank the Donner jury for giving me the immense honor to be nominated once again for the Donner Prize.